Welcome, pilots! This is my third video for the Capsuleer Day event, where I'll take a look at the 3 hacking sites related to the ruined, devastated, and annihilated electrical filaments. If you're looking for details on the Desolate and Treacherous Collapsed Conduit event sites, you can check out my first 2 videos. Once you've found both the blueprint copies and required materials for these filaments, you can manufacture them in any station that has a manufacturing facility. You'll need to temporarily change your safety settings to partial in order to activate the filament. It will leave an abyssal trace in space until you've returned. I personally flew out to an obscure system and set up a safe spot away from prying eyes. The site can only be run in a Tech 1 exploration frigate or Tech 2 Covert Ops frigate. This includes the Astero. I flew a Helios. The important parts of my fit are the microwarpdrive, Tech 2 Relic analyzer, and cargo scanner. The inertial stabilizers in the low slots and low friction nozzle joint rigs help make the ship more maneuverable. The rest of the fit provided some extra hit points, but that turned out to be unnecessary. Once you've entered the site, you'll have 30 minutes to hack as many containers as you can. You'll want to keep an eye on the time remaining, as failing to exit in time results in the destruction of both your ship and pod. Unlike the combat site filaments, here you can leave via the origin conduit at any time. This area of abyssal deadspace is spherical, about 75 kilometers in radius. If you fly beyond this boundary, you'll be teleported to the opposite side of the arena. Flying through the clouds found in the area will affect your velocity and inertia. The tachyon clouds are white and will boost your velocity while making it harder to turn, while the anti-tachyon clouds are purple, slowing you down. You can either navigate around these or learn to control your velocity through them to your benefit. The battle-scarred wrecks found here from the Triglavian ship tree. The smallest are Damavix, the frigate. The Vedmak is a cruiser. The Drekavek is a battlecruiser, the largest you'll find in the ruined filament. The Leshak is a battleship, the largest in the devastated filament. And the Zernitra is a dreadnought, only found in the annihilated filament. The hacking minigame gets progressively more difficult with larger-sized wrecks, with the Zernitra exceeding the difficulty you would normally find in null-security Pirate Faction Relic sites. If you fail a hack, you'll get a second chance. If you fail a second time, the wreck will explode, though it won't damage your ship. If you're lucky, you'll also come across an Edencom scout stash, or in the Annihilated Filament site, an Edencom expedition stash. You can exit the site by activating the origin conduit, and you'll want to remember to reset your safety settings once you're back in regular space. Once you get up to Drekavik wrecks, you'll likely be struggling with the hacks without a Covert Ops ship or Tech 2 analyzer. And even if you are flying a Covert Ops ship with a Tech 2 Relic analyzer, the Zernitra hacks will be quite challenging. You can consume the SOCT Relic Coherence or Relic Strength boosters to help with the more difficult containers. Each type uses a different booster slot, so you could even consume one of each. All battle-scarred wrecks will drop some amount of metal scraps and salvage materials, and most will also drop a small bundle of Triglavian encrypted conduit data. It's typical for a few wrecks in each site to drop filament blueprints, or the materials needed to manufacture them. In general, larger wrecks tend to drop progressively larger bundles of each item, and progressively higher tier entangled GQD materials. Tech 2 salvage materials start to drop in the Leshak wrecks. This is a typical hull from the ruined filament site, which has 11 battle-scarred wrecks. Here's a typical hull from the devastated filament site, which has 16 battle-scarred wrecks. And finally, a typical hull from the annihilated filament site, which has 21 battle-scarred wrecks. Note the rather impressive amount of Tech 2 salvage and metal scraps. After reprocessing the metal scraps, this site provides roughly half the needed tritanium for a typical cruiser blueprint. If you're lucky enough to find a filament site with an Edencom scout stash or expedition stash, you might also be lucky enough to come away with a Genelution core implant, Glamour X booster, or Cerebral Accelerator. The Genelution core implants were dropping at a much higher rate in the first few days of the event. A patch on May 3rd seemed to reduce this chance significantly. I was able to complete these sites consistently within the 30-minute time restriction. Pilots flying a regular exploration frigate with a Tech 1 Relic analyzer will have to keep a very close eye on the time remaining, and should expect to fail plenty of hacks. Keeping in mind that for the purpose of these videos, I spend a few seconds scrolling my mouse over the loot in each container, but also that I have about 10 years of experience with the hacking minigame, I found that the ruined filament site typically took about 11 minutes. The Devastated about 16 minutes, and the Annihilated was running quite tight at about 27 minutes, leaving me only 3 minutes remaining. My final video for the Capsuleer Day event will review my experience running the sinister and vicious filament combat sites. I'll provide fits for each player faction's Tier 1 combat cruiser that I think should be capable in the vicious sites. I'm currently in the midst of gathering footage for a new series discussing the use of pirate faction cruisers for running high-security combat sites. I should be coming out with a release schedule for this series soon. I have plenty of EVE Online content here on this channel, primarily focused on running high-security combat sites. And there's plenty of extra content on my website over at RileyEntertainment.com. Thanks for making it to the very end, and I hope to see you back on my channel soon.